Before the sharp blade fell and the crowd cheered, before the name Marie Antoinette became a symbol of royal downfall, there was a woman, alone, frightened, and stripped of everything. They didn't want to just end her life. They wanted to erase her existence. Once the Queen of France, she was now just a prisoner waiting for death. But in those final hours, something unexpected happened. Through the humiliation, the pain, and the endless cruelty, she found one last piece of power, her dignity. Tonight, as the world quiets down, let's go back to the year 1793 and walk with her through her final journey from a golden throne to a cold, rat-infested prison. Inside the Conciergerie Prison, Marie Antoinette was no longer Your Majesty. She was simply prisoner 280. Her cell was a dark, suffocating box. The walls dripped with moisture, the air smelled of mold and filth. 2 guards stood over her at all times, watching her eat, watching her change, watching her try to sleep. There was no privacy, no escape, not even the mercy of darkness. Every moment reminded her that the world she once ruled had turned into her cage. The queen who once dined beneath chandeliers now ate from a tin bowl in silence, her every movement reduced to something small, human, and painfully ordinary. But no cell could break her heart the way they broke it that night. The guards stormed her quarters at midnight. They came not for her, but for her little boy, Louis Charles. Marie threw herself in front of them, crying, pleading, screaming like only a mother can. Her teenage daughter clung to her brother, refusing to let go. But the soldiers tore him away, ignoring her cries, her pain, her humanity. That was the last time she ever saw him. In her corset, she hid a tiny lock of his hair and a small portrait, all that remained of the boy she once called her son. It wasn't the loss of her crown that broke her. It was the sound of her child being dragged away into the dark. On October 14th, 1793, the Queen was led into the Revolutionary Tribunal. The courtroom was packed with noise, the air thick with hate. Men shouted false accusations, saying she had conspired with Austria, that she had stolen from France, that she had plotted murders and massacres. Every word dripped with venom, every eye burned with revenge. But these were not trials. They were theater, political shows meant to entertain the angry crowds. And the star of this cruel drama was the fallen queen herself, forced to stand and listen as strangers spat lies about her life. Then came the most disgusting accusation of all, that she had committed an unspeakable act with her own child. The prosecutors held up her son's forced confession, a paper signed by trembling hands, torn from an innocent boy who didn't understand what they made him say. For a long moment, the queen said nothing. Then she rose, turned away from the judges, and faced the women sitting in the gallery. "I appeal to all mothers present," she said. Her voice was clear, strong, and full of pain, the kind only a mother could understand. The room fell silent. Even those who hated her felt their hearts shift. For one fleeting moment, the monster they thought she was became human again, a mother defending her child. The trial ended quickly. The verdict was inevitable, death by guillotine. Back in her cell, Marie Antoinette received the sentence without a word. Her maid begged her to eat, but she only whispered, "I need nothing now. Everything is over for me." Then she sat at her small wooden table and wrote her last letter, not to kings or allies, but to her sister-in-law. In it, she asked for one thing: forgiveness for her son, who had been forced to betray her. That letter, soaked in sorrow and love, never reached its destination. It was stolen, hidden away by her enemies, and discovered only years later, a final message from a broken heart. Before dawn, her enemies came for her again, this time not with words, but with rituals of humiliation. They ordered her to take off her mourning dress, the one she had worn since her husband's death. When she asked for privacy to change, the guards refused. Then came the executioner. With rough hands, he cut her hair, once blonde and full, now turned white from months of grief. Every lock that fell to the floor was another piece of her past being erased. Her hands were tied tightly behind her back. "They didn't bind my husband like this," she whispered. But no one listened. She was no longer seen as human, only as a symbol to destroy. At 11 o'clock, the gates opened. The open cart waited. No carriage, no curtains, just a rough plank of wood and a sea of hate. They forced her to sit in the open, hands tied, as the crowd screamed and spat. Some laughed, others threw garbage. But Marie Antoinette never lowered her head. For an hour, the cart creaked through Paris. Her eyes stayed fixed ahead, her spine straight. The revolutionary artist Jacques-Louis David sketched her from a balcony, capturing not a queen, but a woman facing her end with unimaginable composure. She didn't weep. She didn't beg. She simply endured. When the cart finally stopped at the Place de la Révolution, the noise was deafening. Before her stood the guillotine, tall, red, and waiting. The executioner offered his hand, but she refused. She would walk to her death alone. Each step she took up the scaffold echoed in the air, heavy and final. And yet, those who watched said she seemed almost serene, a queen once more, even at the edge of the blade. As she reached the top, she accidentally stepped on her executioner's foot. Everyone froze. The moment stretched. Then she looked at him and said quietly, "Pardon me, sir. I did not mean to do it." No fear, no anger, only grace. That single act, so small, so gentle, became her final defiance. Even in that last breath, they could not strip away her manners, her humanity, her dignity. At 12:15 in the afternoon, the blade fell. The roar of the crowd shook the square. Her head was lifted high for all to see. "Long live the Republic," they screamed. Her body was thrown into an unmarked grave, buried with no name, no coffin, no flowers. The revolutionaries believed they had erased her forever, but time has a strange way of preserving dignity, even when the world tries to bury it. More than 20 years later, the monarchy returned. King Louis XVIII ordered her body to be found, and with great care, she was reburied beside her husband in the Royal Basilica of St. Denis, where France's kings and queens now sleep. They took her crown, her freedom, and her life, but not her grace. For in the end, even death could not erase the quiet strength of a woman who, in her final moment, simply said, "Pardon me. Sleep well, dear listener. Good night."